Good morning and welcome to our cell tour. Today we will be showing you some pretty exciting or not exciting things that relate to items around your house. Like a living room, cell junctions connect and organize. This is where cells discuss matters that relate to their function. Similarly, a family meets in the living room in order to make plans and to come together. A plasmodesma found in plant cells is basically where there's a hole in the cell wall that allows for cytoplasmic exchange between the cells. Each plasmodesma has a piece of cytosome running through it, and even smaller piece of endoplasmic reticulum. Plasmodesma are able to exchange sides in order to allow different molecules to pass. Tight junctions create a watertight seal. The two cells involved are held together by proteins called claudins. The tight junctions that between the cells in your bladder prevent urine from leaking out into the extracellular space. Gap junctions are essentially the same in terms of function as plasmodesma but are in animal cells. The gap junctions allow water, ions, and other substances to pass through. Gap junctions are formed when 6 connexions, member proteins, form a connexin. When the pores of the connexins line up, a channel is created. One of the most important aspects of gap junctions are their role in cardiac muscle. The electric signal to contract is completed when ions pass through the junctions. Desmosomes weld adjacent epithelial cells together. Coherins are adhesion proteins and help anchor the desmosomes to the cytoplasmic plaque, which also connects intermediate filaments. Desmosomes are most commonly found in skin cells and cardiac muscle cells, which allow the organ and tissue to remain connected in a singular sheet. Similar to the foundation of a house, the extracellular matrix determines the shape of a cell, or the house. The extracellular matrix provides structural and biochemical support to the surrounding cells. Cell adhesion and cell-to-cell communication are two main functions of the matrix. Every type of connective tissue cell contains an extracellular matrix. Some other functions of the extracellular matrix include providing support and separating tissues of various kinds. The extracellular matrix is a major component in wound healing.
The walls of a house are like the walls of a cell because they give structure. The wall is made up of cellulose. It also does the job of keeping harmful or unnecessary things out of the cell while allowing helpful things in. They act almost like bones of the plant. They are rigid enough to support the weight of the plant and make it stand. How strong these walls vary from plant to plant.
Now we reach the door of the house. This represents the cell membrane. The cell membrane's function is to keep everything good in and everything bad out. Exceptions to this are when the cell is pushing out products that help the cells around it. It also serves to help give a foundation to the cytoskeleton. It is made up of proteins and lipids, mainly phospholipids to be exact. Because of the polarity of the phospholipids, they make the perfect cell membrane. The cytoskeleton, like the beams of a house, support and uphold the cell. Microtubules are hollow rods about 25 nanometers in diameter and about 200 nanometers in length. Microtubules grow by the addition of tubulin dimers, which are globular proteins. Microfilaments are solid rods about 7 nanometers in diameter. They are built by the globular protein actin. A microfilament is a twisted double chain. The main job of microfilaments is to bear tension. Microfilaments cause the outer cytoplasmic layer to be of a gel consistency. Intermediate filaments. The diameter of intermediate filaments is about 8 to 12 nanometers. One of their main roles is to bear tension. They are made out of keratins and vary in diameter and shape. They are relatively permanent fixtures in cells. Our epidermis is made of dead skin cells, which contain keratins and intermediate filaments.
Vacuoles are mainly used for storage, digestion, and to maintain the shape of a cell. These mainly store food items but also contain nutrients, water, and sometimes waste products to protect the rest of the cell from contamination. So we can see why we would compare them to a kitchen. It stores our food, we separate our waste from everything else through a garbage can, and potentially any other nutrients we need, like supplements for example. Vacuoles are much bigger in plant cells than animal cells because they hold the structure of the cell. They store water here, which is why leaves wilt when they don't have enough of this water. The compost bin in a home represents the peroxisome. They are similar because they are both about breaking things down into usable substances. This organelle is best known for breaking down fatty acid chains, although it also breaks down ethanol, which is alcohol that people drink. Peroxisomes also help digest amino acids and synthesize cholesterol.
Among the mitochondria's many roles, one of its main functions is to generate ATP through cellular respiration. Likewise, the electricity in a house allows for light and power, which allows everything else in the house to function. Mitochondria are found in every type of cell. Some cells have a single mitochondria, others have hundreds to thousands. The mitochondria is enclosed by two phospholipid bilayers. The outer membrane is smooth, but the inner is folded. The inner membrane divides the mitochondria into two parts: the mitochondrial matrix and the intermembrane space. The matrix contains many enzymes, the DNA and ribosomes. The enzymes in the matrix help catalyze some of the steps of cellular respiration. The enzyme that makes ATP is built in the inner membrane.
Chloroplasts are like solar panels in a house. These prove to fit well because they are only on some houses, just as chloroplasts are in some cells. These organelles are only in plant cells and have the job of doing the big part of photosynthesis. It takes in carbon dioxide and light energy from the sun to make sugars and oxygen. It also contains the green pigment in the cell. The thylakoids in the organelle use energy to break down and reform different molecules into what the cell needs.
The lysosome is the cell's recycling system. The lysosome recycles the cell's organic material. In the process of autophagy, a damaged organelle becomes surrounded by a double membrane. The lysosome then merges with the damaged organelle and breaks down the damaged material. The pieces are then returned to the cytosol for reuse. Because of lysosomes, the cell continually renews itself. Similarly, when someone recycles, the materials are reused eventually.
The Golgi apparatus is like a mailbox. It receives, stores, and ships products from the ER. Sometimes it can even manufacture some macromolecules. It has two faces, the cis and the trans. The cis face is near the ER and the trans face goes towards the outside of the cell. The cis face is polar, attracting things into it, and the trans is nonpolar, sending things out.
The kitchen represents the ribosome. This is because the kitchen provides us with what we need to do processes within our own bodies. The ribosomes in a cell are responsible for protein production. These proteins go on to repair damage and play significant roles all over the cell and body.
The smooth endoplasmic reticulum, also known as ER, is like a hallway because it is an area made specifically for transport. It produces different things depending on what area of the body it is in. In glands, it makes different kinds of hormones, and in muscles, it makes calcium ions, which are needed for muscle contractions. It is responsible for a lot of manufacturing and sending out of different things throughout the cell. The rough endoplasmic reticulum is like a staircase because it is, again, an area made specifically for transport, but it is bumpier because of the ribosomes on the surface. It is all around the cell, but at its most density near the nucleus. This does a similar job as a smooth ER, but since it has ribosomes on its surface, it produces mainly proteins.
The nucleus is like the electric panel in the house because the network goes all the way throughout the house and it controls different subunits. Like it controls the refrigerator and it controls the kitchen and it controls your internet and it controls a lot of different parts within the home. Therefore, it's needed for the home to work and function. Nuclei are normally only in eukaryotic cells, which is what we're touring today. It contains a few different parts, but its main job is to produce and manage genetic material. The nuclear envelope is the membrane of the nucleus. This is also made of a lipid bilayer. During the interphase portion of cell division, the surface area of the nuclear membrane expands and the membrane doubles the number of nuclear pores. Nucleolus. This is the round section of the nucleus. It is not surrounded by a membrane, but rather sits inside of the nucleus. It makes ribosomal subunits from proteins and RNA. It ends up making rRNA. Nuclear pores. This is protein-lined pores which regulate what goes in and out. It is how RNA and rRNA enter and exit the nucleus, which leads to the creation of proteins. This is also how lipids, carbohydrates, and anything else the nucleus may need travel in. These are likened to outlets in which you receive the important information from the nucleus and/or electricity. And that's the end of our cell tour.